fucking watch some YouTube.
So it's
how
not.
it is.
Yeah. Hello, welcome to Game of Nodes, a weekly podcast from independent validator teams. Usurp will be
I
joining
mean,
us.
at this point, you could almost just stop it at our weekly podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still all validator teams.
Well, I mean, we are still validators, yes. But I mean, it would be just as valid if you went a weekly podcast.
It is technically, yeah. I mean, whatever. So
And what is an independent validator team? I still don't really know what that is.
Well, we're not like Figment or somebody who's like propped up by dead loads of VC money.
Ooh,
Wait, are you saying if I accept VC money, then I have to exit the Pado?
It means he's definitely banned from saying the second part.
I think we need to take the second part off. Yeah. But it's kind of
line
like,
through it on the fucking
spreadsheet. I'm still super confused as to how you can even get VC money for being a validator, given that you have nothing. Your company has nothing to sell other than your delegations, which can go up as well as down. Like,
do they have a token? They can sell a token.
I guess it must be like the scam must be that VCs want to invest in validator company like big ones, so they can get that validator team a big delegation from a chain that they invest in, and then they're making money at both ends. Even if the chain goes to zero, they'll make money in the interim, I guess. Is that
so?
The scam?
Do you think then when they're investing in them, they're like investing in a traditional sense, and then taking part of the revenue?
I would
guess so.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if those real big validator shops don't have some kind of a revenue share agreement with their investors. But
because, I mean, like,
if they don't,
But my big question is why do they need investors? Like, why do they? Is it for runway? Like, how many fucking people do they have working for them that they need that much runway?
I can certainly see some investors. Like, there's a couple products that I've wanted to build where, like, it might take me a year to build it, right? And it would like prop up the validator business.
But how does it enhance? Like, is it going to have a significant return? Is it going to improve your business that much that you're going to have a significant return on that money?
Yeah.
Like, if a VC handed me tomorrow $3 million and said, "Here, make your business better," I'd be like,
"Kangas or dollary dues."
I can't. Either. It doesn't matter. It was a made up number, but I mean, I could not extract more value out of my business with an extra $3 million of.
Yeah, I like money though.
Of capital. Like, a capital injection for me would do fucking nothing except for like let me be able to sleep at night when I just offload that work to someone else.
I wonder what are the actual stipulations on taking cash, right? Like, if they give you $3 million, what's to stop you from being like, and $1 million is being dispersed to me? Can you do that? I assume not, right?
No, because it goes to the company, right? You're not the company.
Right.
The company's a separate entity.
You could just take a dividend.
Yeah.
Well, it's not income either.
But
like a capital raising is when you sell part of the company, and it's not income. Like, if you distributed a dividend, you would have to distribute it back to the person who just invested,
wouldn't you? Yeah.
Yeah. You could pay yourself directors' fees, but you'd have to take a vote. I mean, if you're like got the biggest share, then you win anyway. So
yeah.
So yes, you could.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Looks like I get a $3 million director's fee this year. Whee!
And I was 90% holder, so that means I get.
It does seem a bit weird though if all you're doing is expanding to expand. It feels like a very, very strange reason to raise capital, really. I know some of the big Val shops are big, like big. Like, I don't know they must have reduced in size whatever we are now, 18 months into a bear market. But like Chorus One had like 80 staff or something crazy, like of which like maybe 40 were technical.
Jesus
I'm
Christ.
pretty sure I remember hearing that in Gateway Conf last year. And
80
yeah.
staff. Who was it? Someone the other day told me they had fucking 60 devs. And I was like, are you fucking serious? 60 devs.
60 devs in which country?
Oh, well, I think it was India, but
Right.
it's
Well, it's like
still
that's
a
different
lot.
from 60 devs in the valley, isn't it?
That's
Or
a
60
fucking lot of
devs.
mouths to feed, though. I mean,
Well,
they're
yeah.
probably just as effective. Like whether you're in the valley or India, it doesn't really matter as long as you can do the typing right. As long as you hit the right buttons.
A little reductive.
That's I will just say this is no shade on the developers themselves, but the process is almost always broken for either near or far shore outsourcing, and I make quite a bit of consultancy dollary-do every year by going into organizations, doing an audit, and discovering that the problem is essentially that it's not even about quality of developers. It's just about if you have people around the same desk, virtual or real, in the same country, in the same time zone, productivity is higher. I've never seen a situation where that wasn't the case. And your management team is usually well, obviously there are a lot of like, Korean, Japanese, etc. startups. So not in this space anyway. So it's not just, Europe, America, Oceania, etc. But there is an element of that, I think.
Ben Davis says you could get into the active set on something profitable. I mean, yes, but then you would also have to hold that risk of the particular coin.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's it again. Like, if there are some chains that are totally big balls where there's loads of investor money sloshing around, and how you get in is by having the same investors. I mean, look at DYDX is like that, right? They have the 41%
Oh
centralization.
yeah, like I could spend $3 million on DYDX coin, but then I would have spent $3 million on DYDX coin.
No, that's what I mean. The investors have $3 million worth of DYDX coin. They stake it to your validator.
Yeah, but that's not the same as investing in your company.
Well, it kind of is. Like, it means that you're in the set on a bunch of chains and you have a very stable delegation.
Yeah, but that's a partnership. That's not a direct.
No, but what I mean is they also invest in your companies. They give you money to hire people, and then they go invest in DYDX. They get a bunch of tokens. They stake them to your validator. And then they also say to the DYDX Foundation or whoever, like, I mean, it could be any.
There isn't one.
They just go, yo, hey, you guys also give a delegation to our boys here because we also invest in them. And then, the whole fucking, the whole thing continues.
That's been really, really interesting actually with the DYDX chain. Is the foundation doesn't do any like delegation of any kind. There is like no big foundation or DAO or anything that does any of that. They just they got tokens, they just don't use them for staking. So that'll be interesting. I mean, I would have thought as the DAO they would want to use their treasury to gain a stable income for the DAO. But maybe that's later on. They'll think about that.
I mean, is it just that for a lot of these orgs, once they've listed on an exchange and they can start liquidating, YOLO.
Yeah, but I mean, then you diminish your capital. Whereas if you had a stake, you'd be earning some of those trading fees. Even if you just staked enough to get the amount that you need to cover off your operating expenses, at least then you're not diminishing the capital of a DAO. Or even if you wanted to build a war chest, so you could actually, if something happened and you needed to bring on 10 more devs for 6 months, you could, without having to liquidate your capital.
More typing required, you mean?
Yeah, if you needed more typists.
You just need more fucking typing. So cause less harm in the chat was just reflecting with bemusement on the fact that for now developers equals typing. That's
well, I mean, that is what they do. They
That is-
type.
I wish I had prepared in advance the clip from Garth Marenghi where he's talking about writing horror novels, and he says, "I just hit the keys and the letters come out, getting them in the right order." That's the difficult bit.
That's the key. It's the key.
I was like, that is so relatable to so many things in life. It's ever good point.
Cause Less Harm also says that most VCs have terms on how the capital is used. Okay,
Yeah.
well that makes more sense. He obviously knows more than us.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's true.
maybe,
Well,
maybe
like
Cause Less Harm should be up here.
I think the last startup I worked for, it was like very explicitly they raised
No
like
Lambos, no
Yeah.
Subway.
Well, I think that from memory, like what's it called? The founders, like the CTO and CEO, basically, or COO, whatever, all these C's.
What is
They didn't. I think they basically had to take minimum wage during the runoff period of the investment, like the 2 years that they were given runway for, and the money like was stipulated to be for like hiring devs, hiring a sales team. That's like the condition of getting the fundraise. So
as a director, I am on minimum wage.
yeah, but that's for tax efficiency because you've got Have you sorted out your accountants yet? Found new ones?
Fuck yeah, I've had that sorted for years now. I just did my tax the other day. It took 2 days.
Oh, I mean, it's easy to do your taxes when you're not making money, isn't it? I've noticed.
We last financial year we got money back from the government. We just did it the other day, and I got money back from the government. Can you believe it?
We have like
Wow.
we got that during one of the VAT periods because of the amount we spent on AWS. Like we spent so much money like with sales tax on AWS services that it was like we did the maths of everything that we owed for VAT for sales. It wasn't very much, and they're like, "Well, we owe you quite a bit of money because you guys have spunked it all on EKS clusters."
we get the same thing every every month we get money back from, we call it GST, but it's similar, VAT. Because all of our costs in Australia, we deal with all mostly Australian companies, and most of the overseas companies charge us GST as well. The bigger companies, but none of the income we make has GST. So, because they're all overseas companies, we can't charge GST to overseas companies. So, basically, every month we get all of our GST back, but don't pay any because we're not charging any.
One of the things that really caused us problems back in the day with like the name service and whatnot was that if you sell NFTs, you have to charge sales tax, and you have to establish technically like what country. So if you know they're not in a country where you have to charge sales tax, you don't have to charge sales tax. But if you don't know, because for example, you're on a blockchain, you and it's just loads of anons with wallets, you have to basically do a best estimate, and they're quite on it about this stuff. So in the end, we basically just had to say like, we honestly don't know, except that the vast majority is not in the UK. So we're just going to have to write in the larger percentage of it. I can't remember what percentage. It was high, as just being, we assume it's from Ireland. So like our sales return is like, in absence of any other evidence, we sell a lot of NFTs in Ireland and therefore have to pay sales tax, because it's better to overpay than it is to get caught with your pants down. But it was like it's like 20% of every sale, right? So you're like,
hey, I'm stuck. Did you say that you have to pay sales tax? We have to charge sales tax on an NFT.
yep.
How do they?
So this is the thing, like, which was quite funny. Like, when we did the name service thing, they were like, any number of DJs coming up in the chat being like, yeah, you guys are like printing millions of dollars, blah, 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 blah. Or also it was nowhere near that amount. But it was like, no. So first of all, we're not printing anywhere near that amount. But also, second of all, straight off the bat, 20% of every sale is going to the government. And also, and I think this is something that people weren't necessarily aware of, but I think especially at that point, it probably drove some of the price action with Juno to a lesser or greater extent because it was so early in the chain. But 25% of every sale was burnt of the Juno paid. So there was, at least in the first few days, there were a lot of mints, right? I actually don't know, maybe a couple of thousand, something like that. But that was like a non-trivial amount of Juno, right? But like a huge proportion, like a quarter of it, got burnt or whatever. Was it either a quarter or a third? I can't remember.
Wait, why did it get burnt?
Because in hindsight, right, should have just not done that and just pocketed the cash as a business, right? Because why not? But at the time, because obviously working very, very closely with like the core team and whatnot, it was like, well, this is kind of giving something back to early stakers because it's going to move. If the project's successful, it's going to move the price, right? Which, and you can never know like whether it did have an impact or not. Like it was very early in the chain, but maybe it did. Hard to say.
Okay, so part of the contract was 25% of all Juno went into like the staking module. Is that what you're saying?
No. So this was the smart contracts for the name service. Like when you minted an NFT, it just burnt part of the fee. Straight up, just burnt it. Took it out of
Okay,
circulation.
so you meant it literally. Okay, got it. I
Literally
thought you were
burnt.
being figurative and hyperbole, which I'm all about hyperbole. I will stand behind like the fish getting bigger every story.
Yeah.
But no, you were being literal. Okay, got it.
Yeah, no, very literal.
So were you having to pay tax on that 25% that was getting burned?
No. So we were paying tax on the 75% that remained. So we paid 20% tax on that, and then 19% corporation tax on top of that.
Joy.
So
Is that of the pre 20% amount or the post 20% amount? Pre-sales tax or post-sales tax?
Post-sales tax. Yeah. So you calculate it at the end of the year, your corporation tax.
So all up about
33%.
Yeah,
Or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so straight off the bat, it would have been like 25% of the original number and then 33% the remaining number. So whatever that is to some math minors, but I would guess all up about 40%, maybe more, of the mint cost evaporated into the ether somewhere. But the moral of that story, by the way, for business people listening to the podcast is, burning tokens is cool, but putting tokens on your balance sheet might be a smarter bet. Also, don't cave to community pressure and restake loads of the income, because this was long before we had any decent accountancy on this. So what we didn't realize, and I've mentioned this before on the podo, is that like the second you receive it, you pay tax on it at that price. So we had a huge tax bill for Juno at peak because that was around when the thing was launched. And then by the time we actually did anything with the tokens, restaked them or sold them, it was just like it was a massive pain in terms of the accounting. And we also we restaked a lot and then had to pay. We were like restaking X amount. We were paying the tax on double that, and of course, all those tokens are worthless now. So, yeah. Lesson learned, right?
And don't forget, dear listeners, that validators are the biggest degens. So yeah.
It's true. It is, to be fair, that is actually the other lesson, is that validators masquerade as businesses, but in fact, I've noticed that sometimes, when you go to like a tech meetup of some kind where it's like not really Web3 and you meet the odd other founder, right? And I certainly think of my risk tolerance is relatively low for this space. And then you talk to somebody who doesn't work in the space and you're like, oh yeah, no, we're all G-gens. We're complete and utter D-gens.
Hey, Uncle
hey.
Dad.
Hey. What's up?
Oh,
Did you get those cigarettes?
Are our microphones lower or is yours high?
I don't know. Does that look good?
I think it's just good diction, probably.
Good what?
Yeah. Not a
Dick.
I need a mic that filters out mumbling.
Mine Mine or yours?
filters out all Australian
Mine.
conversation.
I'm like,
Oh, sure.
what does cause less harm do? Well, don't dox him, but is he a dev? Seems butthurt by my typist content.
He just said he's not a dev, so I would guess not.
No, he said not a typist.
He said, "Forgive the spelling mistakes. Period. Not a dev."
Yeah, so
We're several
he's
levels
continually
deep.
carrying on the joke of I said that devs are typists.
Words are hard on the internet.
So he's saying he's not a dev, he's not a typist. That's why he's spelling
Okay,
shit.
got it. All right, this is a deep plot.
So I like from
Deep
what
state.
what I take from that is that he's butthurt. So potentially a dev. I don't know.
We'll find out.
Maybe
Anyway,
he's just being
we're
funny.
busy.
I
busy
don't mean
talking
any.
about-
I meant nothing about my typist comment. All right, it's just what came out.
It's just what happened. So, who wants to do the drill tweet of the week?
Oh, Uncle Dad, he's late.
I'll take it.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, we doing about there. It's kind of
We're in
late
the
after I said
section
that.
Tough guy.
You got to take into account the delay.
Yeah, I know.
left and right, left or right?
Left halfway.
This one genuinely is the most nonsensical on both pages. I'm sorry, are you going in on me? Am I being gone in upon just for posting my time-tested opinions about girls holding forks incorrectly?
I can pick them.
What category was this?
Tough guys.
What category?
Okay.
It's just so this is actually a very good page. I'm just going to read a couple more from the page. Just going to break the format a little bit to show you how you managed to.
Hang on, was that last one constituted as a very good one as well?
No.
Oh, okay.
So the one below it says, "Go ahead, keep screaming, shut the fuck up at me. It only makes my opinions worse."
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
A man does a wheelie past you on a motorcycle. The back of his jacket says, "Take down the fucking posts." There's a lot of good ones here.
Everyone loves dank woolies is the thing. Like anytime you see a squid going down the road, you just know something good's going to happen.
I love the name of honor more than I fear death. Me to my boss after he found a picture of me with a big shit stain on my sweatpants. There's some good ones on there. Anyway, I've taken my shirt off over 10 million times. Right.
I feel like you could just sit there and read that book one after, like, just
It used to be in our bathroom, and I was told to take it away because it was distracting. We also had a copy of a couple of copies of a very niche publication for all the Glaswegians out there called The Digger, which is essentially like it's like a totally insane. Fuck, how would you even describe The Digger? It's kind of like court transcripts from the Glaswegian organized crime underworld, but it's like written by presumably one guy who's like a hysterical kind of moralist, but also kind of morbidly obsessed with the organized crime. Like, so it's all done in Publisher, Microsoft Publisher, and the template is so lazily done that sometimes the words just go off one page and onto the next page and just go straight into the title on the next page and then just continue. Like, it's really poorly done, but it's just this kind of hysterical stream of thought about everything that's happened in criminality in Glasgow with like a really intense energy. But also, like, everybody in the criminal underworld reads it because they get kind of shout outs for their infamy. But the tone of it is like, we should fucking, shooting's too good for these people. It's just like one of the most insane things that you will ever see in your life. And the best bit is there's a letters page right at the back, right? And people write in Glasgow dialect, like to threaten each other and shit. They like read something in the Digger and they're just like, "Oh, fucking, you said this about me. I'm going to come around your house. I'm going to kill you." And there's a statement at the bottom of the page where it says, like, if you're going to submit anything to the Digger, you have to provide your full name and like a contact number so that if other people are slandered, they can respond to you with legal action. And it's just all of these like absolute nut jobs, like just threatening each other on the back page, but like in full I dialect. So just like completely dense and incomprehensible. It's amazing. And also kind of disturbing, but also amazing. It's an acquired taste to the point that I've been thrown out of a newsagent in Glasgow for asking for a copy of the Digger. I was like, can I get a 4-pack and a copy of the Digger? And they're like, it's not that kind of fucking place. Get out. I was like,
Okay.
Yep.
What'd I miss?
Nothing.
Okay. Cool.
I called devs typists.
yeah. I have food poisoning, so I've in a terrible state. We're what 4 days or something away from the end of the Aptos stress net, which has been really, really stressful. And then also getting this level of ill. I mean, I think I can summarize my current mood as this.
Action, please.
Classic drunk, tired, elderly Orson Welles. That's where I am right now.
When did you queue up all of these little video snippets?
He's laying in bed.
I haven't. Today's been bad.
What's Ken Brock's old YouTube thing? The Hoonigan.
Yeah.
They do that in their videos all the time. They have like these little snippets of like, old TV shows and stuff. I reckon the Frey would be a great editor for them.
I don't know if this Aptos thing is actually going to end on time.
Good. I need to do some admin.
I have a feeling. I have a feeling it's going to go into extra innings, into extra time.
I'm not too heartbroken because I just paid all the bills like 2 days ago. So I was just kind of fuming that there's going to be a month of the machines doing absolutely nothing. So as far as I'm concerned, it can go towards like December 10th or so. I'll be totally satisfied.
I have one ending on the 18th on Saturday. So I'm trying to think if I can. That's when it gets shut off on the end of the 18th. I was like, will we be done by Saturday? Maybe. I don't know.
If it's one of the VFNs, you can just let it fail because they're failing anyway.
No, it's a validator. It's a validator node.
Our VFNs have just been total trash.
Yeah, I think that's VFN. It's validator full node, so it's the full node, not the validator. But I think it's the validator full node, I guess, code within that structure. I think they're looking at. So
yeah, well,
it's been pretty
the hard disks were like red hot as well. Like when we looked at it, like 60. One of them was like one of the sensors was like 60 degrees. The other was 79.
And I was doing something else, and then I actually had the one validator that actually has done great during this sustained 25,000 TPS for 28 straight hours test. They just finished up. It just stopped. Literally, the load went down to 3, and then it went. It did that same thing that like the Orson Welles thing, and then it just.
I'm gonna head out.
It's like I'm gonna head out.
All right, I'm gonna head out.
So, and what I was on 3 calls while it was happening, but I guess there's some sort of LVM bug that I guess, or MD, the MD raid bug that I think for some reason after a huge sustained load, and that sounds filthy, but after a huge load, and then after it, I guess the RAID tries to catch up or something, and it goes into a hard deadlock, and so Aptos would be stuck to one core. Everything would take forever to write, and the only way to really get out of it for me was to reboot it. And it happened to somebody else we work with in the testnet on the same architecture during like the preview piece of it, and it like literally the thing was like dead. And then I was trying to figure out what the hell's going on, and it took like a couple minutes to figure that, and finally I just rebooted the damn thing after like half an hour, and then it's back and it's fine. So it's a really weird. So anyway, I gotta get rid of these MD arrays, I think, on these things, but not for this stress net. Maybe next time.
I mean, I think our learning is basically just massively to overspec, both on disk size and on RAM, because as soon we're doing fine to 13k TPS, 15k TPS, and then
in the validator, in the VFN.
VFNs, and then as soon as the
VFN, I don't know. I don't think that's.
I don't think
that's a fair.
20.
Yeah, I don't think it's a fair thing right now because I think the VFNs are really.
They're kind of fucked, aren't they?
Yeah. Both of ours bagged out, and then the one validator I had, which was doing well, I had pruning off, and so the disk filled up, and I was waiting until like the last possible minute, and then I finally had to kill it and try to have it state sync up, and you can't state sync under load in this network. It doesn't work. And so that thing basically was out for 24 hours out of that. But my other one was doing great. Didn't drop a single one. It was just cranking.
We had one
today. It just gave up.
It shut the bed. Like literally, it filled. Even though pruning should have kicked in, it just filled the whole of a terabyte disk and then just shut the bed.
That's weird.
Yeah, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like, and I was looking at the configuration. It was like there was nothing that should have allowed it to get that big.
Yeah.
But I think there must have been something to do with, so the memory was like maxed, like the RAM was totally maxed. So even though there was, I don't know, there was like fuck all swap configured, like 32 meg or something, like some tiny amount. There's got to be something happening there with spilling to disk or something, because I just don't have a smoking gun for why the disk would fill up like that. 'Cause it was like,
wouldn't be swap.
what?
It wouldn't be swap in that situation. So I don't
No,
know
no,
what that would be.
exactly. But somehow the disk just filled up to like 98%, and then the RAM utilization was like, yeah, like 100%, and it was completely locked up. Like, you know, one of those, you know, when you know something's in trouble, when the monitoring drops off and you go check it out, and then you SSH on, and it takes ages to connect, and then you connect, and when you type, there's like a big gap.
That's what happened with this one. Yeah.
You're like,
that's not good.
okay, something bad has happened. Let's open HTOP, and then HTOP takes like 8 minutes to load. And you're like, oh, okay, bad things are happening. Yeah, it's like kind of it's like an old, like one of those teen slasher films when you enter the house and there's blood everywhere. You're just like, oh dear, here we go again.
Yep.
Oh.
So I'm hoping we get a new version here, maybe tonight, I heard, or tomorrow or something. And I think they'll push through. I don't know, like to our point before, whether it's going to end on Friday, I'm not really sure. But if they keep that timeline, I think that would be great. To hold on to Friday, because I have some machines ending Saturday just by luck. But
I think ours end tomorrow, unfortunately. So we're going to have to renew for another month.
Yeah.
Re-up.
Yeah, and to be fair, and they've not been well. The Epics have been really good. The 7950s have been trash.
So. Well, I think that might be more related to the VFN than the actual, because somebody our friend of the show at Republic, he's running one of his validators is on a 7950X, and that thing does great, kicks ass, like does a really good job. Actually, better than Republic.
They are?
Yeah. One of his two is on a 7950 because it passed. So he's like, well, let's give it a shot. Because then he has the same thing I have, which is that 90, that big dog that we were talking about last week. And that thing is done really, I mean, it's done okay, but it's done pretty poorly up until this last build. Like it is not executing the way that, it's not executing the way that it should, based on what's going on, which I assume is software, right? Like, not really.
7950, you'd have a way faster clock speed though, right?
No, actually not that much more than these. It does. It is. It's like 4.1 versus 3.8 or something like that. It's not as big as you think.
It's not. Yeah, it's not as well. What does it boost up to though? Is it like?
I think this one boosts up to. I'll look, but I think it's like
50X. I would have thought it'd be up like 4,800.
I can look really quick.
5 gigs around there.
I know this is huge.
I think
exciting topics.
The other thing that several people said was people who are racking their own nodes rather than relying on a third-party provider were saying that the cooling was also a big issue. And
so like sustained load.
Yeah, we've just purchased them straight off the shelf from data center provider, and so I don't know what their setup for cooling is, but back to the
some of those data centers are doing all kinds of water cooling shit now.
Yeah, well, it's back to like the sensors. When we looked at the sensors on the box, fine, you don't know how accurate they are, but the fact that some of it's over 60, 70 degrees, and that's not
SSDs are always cooking.
Well, sure. Well, no, not the validators weren't. the fucking VFNs were. The validators were chilling.
Yeah, it wasn't. VFN, I mean, even it was only like a couple hundred meg write per second. Like it wasn't. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, in the old days, it's a lot, but like compared to what these things can do, it's really
70 plus degrees. That is warm.
But on an NVMe, that's warm. Yeah. But the other thing, like some of those, you can just I do that, and I've done it in situations where you just go into like LM sensors and just force all the fans to 100. Like don't even let the temperature sensors work. Just fucking jack them all up. Like jack every fan to 100 and just force it.
Yeah, like no fan curve. Just
force them all to 100 at all times. Like there's nothing wrong with that, because sometimes what you actually get is you get those fan curves. Like you might be on an edge where like the fans are constantly ramping up and ramping down, and so you have this like wave that's going on with like within NVMe spec like temperatures and things like that. And sometimes you just want to force it to 100 because you get more airflow and just kind of keep it Doesn't matter. It's not you're not listening to it.
I was going to say, especially like on other people's hardware, that's not a bad
Who
shout.
gives a shit?
Really.
Yeah, especially for something like this, it's for a
It's
couple
like,
months.
well, we just had to pay
force the
you for
fans.
another month as well when
Yeah.
we only really need it for one more day. So out of pure spite, I'm going to fucking wreck this server.
So to answer your question on Boost, no, this Epic is a 3264 with a base of 3.9 and a max boost of 4.3. And the 7950X 3D is a 1632 with a base of 4.2 with a boost up to 5.7. So that's a pretty big difference within there. But also, I mean, PCI lanes and all that kind of stuff is vastly different. The size of the L2 cache and like that makes a difference. But again,
you don't need shit. You don't need shitloads of PCIe lanes. Like you're only running a few SSDs. So.
You don't. Well, we're on 5, but yeah, even with that, it's only 116. Well, I guess it's 116 plus a little bit more. But yeah, it's not much.
Have you seen the new 4th gen Epic, the Bergamo the Zen 4C thing? It's got 128 cores.
That's the same one as that's still 99X, right? That's the same series as this.
Series.
Yeah. The bigger one that
Bergamo.
Yeah, the other one that we run is the 9474, which is 4896. But those are the Fs, which are like the really high clock speed ones. The other ones those other ones are just they're not like good for this type stuff, right?
Nah, they're like 3 gigahertz. But
yeah,
256 cores though. Like
I know.
That's
that's like a
vSphere
machine.
You can eat your fucking dinner on it too. It's like huge.
But if you're running like vSphere or something like that, where you have like a shitload of nodes that are running and sharing time and all that kind of stuff, that would do really well.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
imagine a dual CPU, one of those bad boys.
But this test, I mean, the StressNet to its, I guess it ran for what, 25,000 sustained TPS, right? 24, 25, somewhere in there. For like 30 hours, 28 hours?
I think they said it pumped in 2 billion transactions.
Yeah, 2 billion transactions is over 24 hours or whatever, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that was with like 25% of the network offline as well.
Yeah, it was down to 70. I think the lowest I saw was like 72 or something like that. It was
2 billion sends.
Woo!
I don't know if they were they all sends? I thought it was pretty simple transactions though, wasn't it? I don't think it was like.
I think there were some NFT mints and things.
Yeah, I don't remember what Alden's or what they said Alden said about the transaction mix, but we did see like we had about, I think 50 or they were sustaining about 50 or 60 requests a second on our VFNs. So I guess at 20,000, I guess they must have been distributing that out to a ton of nodes to add it in.
What's the data growth on something like that?
It prunes pretty hard. So I think the pruning on this was it 300 million versions? What was that, guys? Do you know?
I think
don't remember what it was.
Like that,
300 million versions?
I think the disk utilization on the Val never got over about 300 gig.
Yeah. It prunes it prunes, and it's continuously pruning, right? So every time, like, you're getting 20,000 transactions a second, I think it's pruning that in the back end too, which was some of the issues I think they were showing on the VFN or on the full node is it wasn't pruning fast enough for the number of pruners, and then this version also they moved from like straight file-based storage to RocksDB and sharded RocksDB. So there's like 16 separate RocksDB databases for each of these different data stores, and they open them all up. And so there's so if you actually look at the number of concurrent writes and the processes that are writing, it's a really long process list because it's writing like concurrently to all these different shards, and then also pruning across those shards as well.
They really are just pushing the limits of something nobody needs, right?
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is that they got to like 18,000 in the last one, and so there's a lot of code changes required to add that additional 5K, maybe 6K extra transactions, which we've got 24K was peak. Like it's a huge amount of work to have added that additional TPS, and still a lot of things have fallen over,
Yeah, I show 27,000 as peak. That's pretty good. That's pretty decent. Even if they are sends and like, and some mints and those types of things, like that's per second, that's a lot of DeFi.
I mean, whenever the Celestia osmosis thing was
DeFi.
happening, they peaked at like 12 transactions per second. So,
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
osmosis was totally brought to its knees with that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, these are real transactions. Like, it's not like that bullshit stuff that you saw on the SUI side, what they're saying they hit 600,000 or whatever the hell it was. But yeah, it's a big number, and like these things were humming. Like, they were doing pretty good too. But
Well, 600K is the number in the original narwhal paper, isn't it? The narwhal tusk paper. So
Right.
I think we mentioned it on the Podo last week, but that's probably psychologically why Siri felt comfortable bullshitting their way to 600K, because
it might have been
In a-
100K now that I'm thinking about it.
in a very, very limited sense, that has already been benchmarked in a kind of lab setting, but not in a production setting, I suppose. So, yeah.
Hey, Noel, to celebrate your lack of alcohol, I went out and picked up some specific.
Oh, Penfolds, baby.
The-
Is that Canungra Hill?
It is. Yeah.
Absolute swill.
I hate Shiraz too, but I bought it just for you. I saw it on the shelf. I was like, oh, look at, I mean, it had such a goofy name. I'm like, look at the Kununununungunus here. And I was like, oh, I'm getting it just for you.
Canungra. I
What a
literally.
strange name. I'd have called it a Chuzwater.
It's a $15 fucking podcast joke. Expensive.
I only drink Shiraz, man. It's the
Do you?
best shit. Yeah. Don't drink anything else.
Australian Shiraz is not bad. Shiraz? Is that how you're supposed to say it?
That's how we say it. Shiraz.
That it is.
Up Shiraz.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the other thing in my stable. It's beer, whiskey, and Shiraz. Pussy.
The trifecta of gout. You just need some Stilton in there.
What was that?
Trifecta of gout.
Oh, trifecta.
I knew a
Yeah,
guy. I
don't
knew a
get
guy
gout.
that like
And
was a
red meat.
housemate of a friend of mine, and he was a bit of a useless bloke, kind of living off mummy and daddy, and just like one of those people that's like, yeah, people need to get a job and stuff, and it was like, yeah, what do you do, man? It's like, oh, I trade antiques, and it was like, do you now? And you live in the center of London, and you're like 23, and you trade antiques. So, in other words, mummy and daddy are propping up the party. That guy completely this will not surprise anybody that's had even that slight bit of intro. That guy got gout. One of my favorite stories was that he bought a like some fancy like Bavarian cigarette case, silver cigarette case or something to resell, because he was like, oh shit, this is super cheap for what it is. Like, even just the silver cost, it's massively cheaper than it should be. It's collection only in like, okay, a city in Bavaria. I don't know, my German geography ain't so hot. So he got an EasyJet flight over there, went and picked it up, brought it home, and then was just like, yeah, it's just kind of cool, I'm gonna keep it.
Like, oh, that's not really.
Good business sense.
Yeah, exactly.
When validators are calling your business sense bad, that's when you know.
It's bad news.
Yeah. Okay. I guess you have a point. On something like a little bit off topic. Any of you boys a Omniflix validator? Both of you boys? I'm not even talking to the Frey.
Yep.
He only
I am.
validates one network.
Why?
Anything like strike you as a little bit fucking suspect last night with that
With the hull height?
upgrade?
Yeah.
I mean, that was some shit.
But as soon as they hit the hold height, people were like upgraded. I can't type, and my fucking compiler is not that quick. Like I had pre-compiled my thing before the upgrade height, but someone typed in there upgraded literally within 5 seconds of the hold height.
What's your point?
How is that possible? Also, the network was running again in like no seconds. Did it even stop?
It did stop. It because I didn't even see that notification. So I didn't see it until after I think it halted is really how I got notified about it. But I was sitting here and it went like right away. And as soon as I actually ran that, it started right away. It must have only been down like 5 minutes, right? Which is
it was like less than a minute.
no, it was Oh, well, I didn't even know actually, because as soon as mine was starting, I was seeing blocks, so I actually thought that I might have pushed it over.
Well, it was going when as soon as I restarted my nodes. So I had pre-compiled, right? So I watched my log.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the halt.
You watched
right?
your log.
I watched my log. I stopped the system D,
Uh-huh.
and then I like pasted the copy command that I'd pre-copied, right? And
Yes.
then I started it again, and the network was running.
Yeah, it's a little shady, right?
So I'm thinking that it could have been a like upgrade in place thing. I don't think it was state breaking because I think all those other nodes that didn't upgrade were still running.
So so in that case, the hold height wasn't really a hold height, right? Because not enough people. Because I didn't even see the notification.
Yeah, like
it was very short, right?
I don't think it was a state breaking thing. I think
it must not have been, because otherwise it wouldn't have started that quickly. Like it would have been impossible for 67% that on any network that would have happened within that short of a time, right? On a state staking change on a manual hold height non-governance.
Yeah,
base.
like a manual hold
That's
height,
always
you'd
fuckaroo.
expect it to take like
6
an hour.
hours. Right.
Yeah. I was thinking to myself, like, how you could do it without having to wake up and get out of bed. And I came up with this process of how was it? So you stop your node, you copy the existing binary into a different place, not in your go bin or whatever. Or you can leave it probably in your go bin. You compile the new node into the build directory, like without installing it.
Yeah.
Copy that across into the Cosmovisor directory where it needs to be. Oh, hey. and then manually start your node, right? So in this case, OmniFlix Hub D start with the halt height flag, and then the OR operator, the double pipe, to then start the system D. I think that'd work. So it'd exit with a code 1 once it hits the halt height, and then it would hit your system D start again, which would pick up the new binary.
Yeah,
you reckon that'd work?
You could replace the binary in place, even in the Cosmovisor directory, and it would replace the running binary. The running binary is...
You can't replace the running binary in Cosmovisor.
Sure you can.
Well,
of course you can.
You have to force it. So, I mean, when you do a normal copy, it doesn't work.
CP-F. Like you can replace that binary. It doesn't replace the running actual binary. Like the processes continue to run. Right.
Yeah.
If it goes back to the binary for something, maybe it fucks up. But we've done this before for some other reason. And then when that process restarts, it would use the new one.
Yeah, but you need to be able to set a hold height that's not in your...
For sure. And Gonzi says, I don't manage. Gonzi from the comment says, I don't manage our OmniFlix node, but it sounds like this might be a case of restart always flag on the unifile. That's another issue too, because like manual hold heights doesn't do anything. It just kills the binary, but usually system D fires it right back up. And so you end up moving past. We had that issue like every time, right? Because people just move right past it. And so if there's enough there, it just moves right past the hold height.
Same party.
Well, it actually pushes through the hold height. Like
it will just keep going. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't keep going. It pushes through and it stops again.
Yeah, it pushes through and then it errors out, but it does sometimes advance round, doesn't it?
It would have, yeah.
Which advances around, but it does usually just keep breaking it and restarting.
Yeah. But this is back to how you can end up with random tombstones and whatnot.
Well, no, as long as you're not fucking with the state file, shouldn't.
That's why.
Anyway, I just found it quite interesting that the network was back up so quick on a manual hold height.
My guess is that actually, to your point, it probably didn't halt. Right? You probably had 67% that continued forward. It didn't halt, and it was a non-state breaking change that people randomly updated binaries throughout there, and who knows if the state is correct based on the updated binaries.
I mean, I just don't understand why they didn't just do a governance upgrade.
Yeah, do you know what was this, like a security thing or something? Like, why did this even happen?
It must have been a security thing of some description. Like they didn't even really say. They just said
Do this.
upgrade.
Right.
There have
Get
been
it
a
done.
couple of late, so maybe they realized they were still exposed.
Yeah, I mean it was like what 12 hours notice, maybe less than a day
I missed it. I mean, I missed it until after the halt hike. That's for sure.
when you got the
Notification.
notification. Hey, do you remember I was telling you the other day, Serpa, about that stalling problem with my osmosis RPCs?
Yes.
And I made a script to just like constantly poll the height and then just restart the system D if it gets stalled out.
Mm-hmm.
That does not work so good around Epoch.
Oh yes. So
Yeah.
it wasted. It sat at Epoch, and then you just started rebooting it.
Yeah, and then it
starting it.
keeps trying to do the Epoch. So
funny.
yeah, so there was another 4 a.m. wake up this morning.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, but it was a simple change, like in the part of the statement that actually does the restart. So now it polls on 1 minute, but if it does a restart, it just waits 5 minutes before it polls again. So
That's cool.
yeah, there was I mean, I didn't put any error handling in that at all. It's like the dirtiest script, but it works sort of. So that's fun.
Crypto prices are crazy today. It was like
oh
down.
man, is
it
it?
was down.
Well,
10%
yesterday
earlier.
yesterday you were messaging me.
Party's over.
Party's over. Everything's done. Everything's like red. And
It's
I'm
all
like,
going
oh,
down. Yeah, today
fuck.
things are bouncing back a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's that they're backing up that 20%, right? Is Say performing all right? Is it?
Say's at 16 cents again.
Oh baby!
Yeah.
I mean,
it's up 25% this week.
Near,
DYDX is
dwindling near
pushing
10
$4, which is pretty crazy since.
So the word on the street is people think that that's because of validators buying. I don't think so.
I don't think that's small numbers, right? Overall.
Yeah, I mean, it's
not like
in the context of the liquidity of like DYDX token.
Less than $1 million, right? Easily. So you're not like really pushing anything related to
and
that. Market cap is huge
over several weeks as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is like it's a pretty nice drive of the price. Like I told you guys before, if all of the trading action was on V4, my estimate is about $6 a token is what it's worth, but no financial advice.
We're good.
Yeah.
We're gonna remind you of that every time.
But it's nice that, you know, us degenning to get into the validator set has like been a reasonable investment thus far.
Yeah, which is actually one of the reasons that I did it is because I you know, obviously just a little bit less risk with a somewhat stable token that I didn't think we actually would even have this much price movement. Like I wasn't expecting anything to grow here. I was just hoping it wasn't going to turn into 4 cents, you know?
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected like more than, you know, 20% price action.
Well, there's a lot over the Osmosis is up 30% this week. Stargaze 50%, which is whatever, small numbers, but whatever.
Maybe
up 25%.
Maybe there's more people than we know watch this podcast and like everyone's buying on my valuation.
It could be. It's exactly what it is. That's what it is.
I'm sure that's what it is. Yeah.
Gosney also says apparently Circle Ventures invested in Say. We did see that as well, that there was some sort of announcement from the Say team that Circle made an investment. We were trying to find some news or information from Circle related to that or any more details on what that is, but we didn't really see much run.
There was certainly a one-liner from the Say Twitter account.
Right. with a cool graphic. So somebody spent some time with the graphic. Yeah, it's like the circle balls and everything. Yeah. The hell?
It was
investment was more than the graphic cost. I know that.
Yeah, maybe they just got someone really good at graphics. So you can just bang that out in 2 minutes. I don't even know how you'd make that. What about some news? Have we covered any of the news with our rambling? DYDX enables trading. Are we rich with that sweet centralized USDC yet? So funny about that. The trading has commenced on the DYDX. You heard it here last, folks. Trading has commenced on DYDX. I believe the grand total of volume today is $20. Last I checked.
Is that your $20?
Yeah, it wasn't mine. Yesterday it was like 25 grand yesterday or something like that. But I mean, it's brand new, it's fresh. People still haven't really bridged that much across in the big scheme of things.
You also
I
can't
think-
use it in the US.
Yeah, no US, right? You can't do it in V3 either, right? It's
I mean, you can't.
non-US.
Yeah, you can't use V3 in the US.
No, I think you can. I went and checked.
We'll have to check. I swear I tried it a while ago, but it didn't work. But that might be a while ago.
So when DYDX was telling us to run nodes around the Asia region because that's where the customers are,
Mhm.
I was skeptical. I was like, really? And, you know, didn't quite believe that. However, that appears to be where the customers are looking at the traffic status. Lots of Singapore, Japan, type areas. So
That's pretty common in Say too. Like we saw that. I think we talked about that before on a previous show in Say Launch too. That we were surprised about the amount of like traffic coming out of Asia Pacific. So
Like-
that's moved a little bit for us. It's like now it's like balanced out a little bit more, but it was definitely very Asia focused.
the traffic is definitely increasing on DYDX.
Yeah.
So, and that's a good sign. People are coming over. But yeah, if I'm looking at like country, there are still like US, like the US has still got traffic. So I don't know. It is very little though. Like in the last 24 hours, is like it doesn't even show on the countries list. It's that little. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
Singapore,
it's blocked in the
France,
UI.
Japan, Hong Kong. I'm suspect that the France traffic is bots.
And some of that stuff in the US might be. We've had this. I've seen this before too, where it's like, Canada's probably not blocked, right? From DYDX. I don't know if it is or not, or Mexico.
I
but
don't
we've
know.
seen, like,
I'm not seeing much traffic from it though. So like Japan, Hong Kong, South Korea, Australia, Russia.
we have seen like even though residents are in those countries, that they hit either Cloudflare endpoints or edge endpoints that might sit in the US, and so sometimes that get registered there, even though their IPs coming from another country. So
Right.
you
'cause
might
they
you might
just
get some
closed
of that type
it.
of
Yeah.
stuff too, which shows up in the stats from Cloudflare coming from countries that are just nearby where the actual user is, not necessarily where they're in.
Yeah.
But it's good. I'm glad it's growing. I mean, I think everybody who's a validator or involved in DYDX, I think, at least on the Cosmos side, wants Feed4 to grow quickly, right? And you want users to migrate, and you want them to take advantage of the lower costs, and you want them to move cash over and bring more stability to this validator set, especially around validator number 45. And
Oh
number
man,
45 on
it
the
is.
list, number one in your hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
It is like it's tough out there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are whales coming in and just starting their own validators as well.
Sure. Yep. I think we talked about before, right? I think you're going to get Ethereum validators showing up. You're going to get massive whales and DYDX holders. You're going to get. It's so easy to join this. It's not like Ethereum, right? It's so easy to join this set, and if you're holding
Yeah,
if you're holding a $500,000 DYDX, right. Like that's why I said like this validator set I think is going to change significantly.
I have to wonder though, like if you're a whale, is it really worth the hassle
5%.
and the like sleepless nights to run your own shit? Like, even if you're paying someone to do it, like, is it really worth it? Just
For 5% or
stake
something.
with
In
the
ecosystems where there's no
Yeah.
tombstoning, maybe, yes.
I don't think. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Is like that's what we had this. We talked this before in some other chain, right, where people didn't understand like the slashing piece. Like people were just standing up nodes and they didn't realize it can get slashed or get tombstoned or anything else. But didn't DYDX get rid of that?
So DYDX is reasonably safe because there is no slashing amount yet. It's slashing 0. But in testnet, the double sign was turned off. I'm not sure if it's turned off on mainnet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't even know you could turn it off. It is turned off?
Yes, it is turned off.
Oh, so
Oh.
like, so
Don't
everybody-
even need to use Horcrux.
Yeah, what the fuck? You just fucking YOLO at it and gives a shit, right?
Secure as fuck. There you go.
Seriously.
Can't
Like,
even,
who gives a shit?
can't,
It's
even,
just
can't even double the sign. Can't even submit
fucking on
evidence.
put on a Raspberry Pi and fuck it. Who cares? You can miss all the blocks you want.
Mail your Raspberry Pi to Japan.
Some of these big whole like the blocks misses on DYDX is pretty brutal on a lot of these upper nodes, like 72% active and things like that. There's some shit numbers in there.
Yeah, it's the uptime has been a little bit weird. Like, I think the network center of mass is getting dragged around when like big delegations come and drop in.
Right.
So
yeah, we've actually held pretty decent uptime, even though, I mean, we're in Singapore, but it seems like the mass is being dragged towards, take a guess, Finland and West Germany.
I wonder why that could be.
I don't know. Maybe $100 a month, 79.50s. But we've still held pretty decent signature, like pretty decent signing. But yeah, like some of these numbers are pretty poor on some of these groups.
Well, I think the best uptime I was seeing was from Crow's Nest, right? And they just got bumped out.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Someone redelegated off them, and they actually had the best uptime. Who'd they say someone redelegated to? Or someone dumb? I can't remember.
Someone dumb.
I think it was that Firefly guy, the dry Firefly or whatever it's called.
That's
really?
one, right?
Who's already got like all the fucking stake anyway?
That's number one, right?
Yeah.
That's clearly a Sybil, right? There's 3 or 4 that are very similarly named with like 3 words and no.
I don't think so. They probably know each other, but I don't think it's a Sybil. They like I was talking to some guys about it yesterday, and apparently they do know who the number one is.
They know those operators?
Yeah, they know.
All right, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, that's very hearsay and conjecture, but
it is. I mean, they're all kind of
Apparently
similar in
they're
nature and structure, and I don't know. It seems a little shady, but
yeah,
whatever.
totally legit.
DPoS.
Yeah,
man.
I guess they don't want to be like identifiable as someone if, I don't know, like they're shit or something. I don't know.
Who does? Who does?
Like, you know, we have, we use our brand, right? We're like, well, look at us. This is us here. Here's our brand. We're not shit. And then, like, I guess if you're just running one network, like maybe it doesn't matter. They're just like,
yeah, who gives a shit?
you know, we've got shitloads of token. We're going to go to the top anyway. So who cares?
Right. And
if other people delegate with us, cool.
And there's no penalty for shit performance. So who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you build a system with loads of economic incentives to cover particular edge cases, and then you just take all of those away without replacing them with anything. And there are, you know, consequences, side effects.
Yeah, this is not on the news list, but we were talking, there's a friend of the show and Validator Whisper Node that we were talking about this, I think, related to Brendan put up a Twitter post, which I'll put in the show notes. And I think, Schultze, you replied on this as well. And it was related to DYDX, and just Brendan's Whisper Node's comment was that they did not give out large foundation delegations to validators and thus create a frenzy of competition to remain in the set. It's led to personally funding operations by buying large amounts of DYDX. Without rewards at launch and little sell pressure, this seems to create high demand for DYDX, leading to an increase in price as teams scramble to buy more. I think we said that. We don't think this is validator focused. I think this is just the larger marketing related to moving from V3 to V4, I think would create buy-in, right? And then validator teams are getting kicked out of the set and frantically trying to find ways to remain active. I got several DMs from teams looking to form partnerships, aka to delegate from their validators to keep them active. Everyone wants to be able to have the cloud for the brand, which I agree with.
How do you think that would work?
It wouldn't.
Like what? I don't understand what they mean by partnership. Like,
also,
let's partner. You delegate to us, and
yeah. And also, what the fuck? Like from a legal perspective, from an accounting perspective, like there's a whole bunch of unknowns there.
I mean, literally, what you would do is, I mean, the only thing I understood that to be would be, hey, we have 20,000 DYDX. We can't be in the set. I'm gonna delegate null to you, but I want that number and I want that commission back.
That's basically what the email said.
That's really what it would be.
Well.
right? Like
Oh
that would
yeah,
be
who did you get the same thing, Schultzy?
Yeah. Let me go find
Oh,
it.
and they just said that they'll give you your yay.
or
In
vice
so many
or vice
words,
versa.
yeah. It was by
Yeah.
Futura Meridian.
I had those like in osmosis and early days and those types of things. Like, hey, I have this. This will help you, but I want and even it's 5%. Like, who gives a shit? Like, it's fucking small numbers. Like, it's such a pain in the ass, and who's doing the
Like
math on that?
if I failed my attempt to get in the set and the fucking and the price is high, I'm selling. I'm not
Yeah.
delegating to someone else. Like, you shoot your shot, and if it doesn't work out, well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a serious. You have to seriously consider whether you're going to still hang around with that investment.
Anyway, I mean this idea and this comment, I honestly just don't think teams.
They're literally just fishing for delegations to try and stay in. So
Yeah, no,
I
not
would
not,
say,
not
how
Whisper.
about you?
No,
No. I mean, whoever these people are.
Oh yeah. They're they're trying to find ways to whatever, right? Like work together or find some way, but it's really not. And honestly, I think this idea
It's not sustainable either. Like,
no,
like it's like it's like a kind of when you're trying to buy something on eBay and people bid it up over the price of the thing new because they all get carried away, and you're like, the fuck have you done? That's so dumb. I think it's kind of a little bit like that frenzy. Like, we had a little bit of that in App Chain Winter with people competing to stay in the set, like the floor's lava and all that. But it seems to be it seems to me to be a weird thing to do in the current market, because we just don't know what will have momentum coming out of whenever this bear begins to wind down. And also, like, I think the narrative of a lot of this stuff is like, it's essentially get rich quick. Let's not like fucking sugarcoat it. I don't think most people give two fucks about DeFi other than you juggle some coins around in a tin and you get more coins out. You can sell them. Like, that's the utility, right? Most people don't give a fuck about derivatives, and it's not real demand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's like a big question there about. I wrote in the show notes real trends versus fake trends, because I was rewatching the Sam Altman, good startups YouTube video, and I was like, yeah, I think the real trends versus fake trends thing is so pertinent for this space, where you're like, the example he gives in his talk is iPhone jumps on top of trends that were in flight, right? And it then launches an ecosystem of things like apps and all these things that you can do via compute in your pocket. Whereas like AR and VR have been very, very slow to take off because there's a lot of interest in the industry, but there's not a lot of interest from consumers, because what people are actually trying to do with them is like totally different, like in terms of level of essentialness to their day-to-day life. And that's like a lot of these chains, to be honest, right? Especially the DeFi ones. So
also, I mean, to Brendan's point here, I also think that at fundamentally, teams don't give a shit on who validates for them. I think there's not much loyalty associated with this stuff, which I think is fine. Like, I think it's their prerogative to be able to do that. This is it's a vendor-client relationship, but even in that perspective, they're not even vendors that you're courting and doing those types of things. Away from like other types of services, like you're doing private RPC, you're doing XYZ, like that's a more personal relationship. You're doing something, so you want to support that. So I think if you're a general validator, which a lot of us are, in some of those types of situations, they don't care. Like, they don't care, and there's not much loyalty to that, because their loyalty goes to end users, their loyalty goes to investors. There's a long list of loyalty, and that idea that you provided some certain infrastructure and helped out in some sort of testing type of thing is pretty low on that list. And then you can look at the delegator side. The delegator side is very similar, where like there's some good brand, clearly there's good brand recognition and delegates that are loyalty to specific brands. If they're on those chains, I think they'll probably use them or like mix them into that thing. But like, I mean, look at the set here. I mean, you have massive, large scale validators that maybe those are community delegates, or maybe those are just all internal tokens, but you have the Figments of the world and those types of things that regardless of where they end up, they're going to have a significant amount of delegates associated to that. So like, I understand Brendan's point here. I also think that like you're just shouting into the wind. Like, I don't know who's coming to this. There's nobody coming to this rescue, right? Like those teams,
Well, also,
they
like,
don't care.
Well, but also, I think that for the whole party to actually work, I think the validators need to be fungible. Like, they really shouldn't be any favorites, because, you know, if you've got uptime, if all your metrics look the same as the next company, you should be exchangeable with one another. That's like the basis of decentralization. And I think what sticks in the craw about the bigger validators that are backed by VCs or whatever is that they are the least fungible. They are not fungible. And it is one of those things like foundation unlocks, like fuckaroo inflation, Ponzinomics and whatnot, that kind of is a little bit Emperor's New Clothes about, like, you can say whatever you want about how you're revolutionizing finance and this and that for the people or whatever, but it's just shit tier populism. Like, the technical implementation speaks volumes, as does who is actually, a top validator on that chain, and that shows you whether or not it's theatre, I suppose. I should say as well, like, Rama's just jumped in the chat. It's like, Frey is sick. Frey is very sick, and that's why this is like, I think I sound even more negative than usual just because I am so fucking croaky. But
you definitely don't sound as regal with this fucking nasal, like, stuffed up.
On a related note, I actually genuinely am so exhausted that I'm going to fall asleep in my chair, so I am going to peace out and catch you lads later. But I literally cannot stay awake for another 10 minutes.
You can stay away for 10 minutes.
I'm gonna go
balloons, baby.
See you, Dr. Frey.
The balloons.
Oh. I don't think it does anything if you flip me off, Seb.
I'm trying.
There we
doesn't
go.
work. I think I have to look at the camera, right? Is that how? No, it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work.
Fucking hell.
It is a MacBook thing too, by the way. It's not.
It's a MacBook
Mac thing.
Is
It's a
it
Mac
really?
thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, it's a Mac thing?
I'm a
Yeah.
genius. You're fucking wankers. You'll never see me again.
He's gone.
Wow, perfect.
That was perfect.
Oh, man.
To the comments, Ryan Funky, you prick. Why did your Kujira node get /null? I lost 0.0, probably 0.2 Kujira. Damn it. Yeah, I got. Look, I'm not afraid to say I fucked up there, because I calculated the amount of signatures we could miss wrong. So as a validator with a lot of workload, sometimes you need to prioritize the things in your workload. And I had a customer who was having we were having a lot of problems with an RPC service, and with their customers using that service, we prioritized trying to work with them to find the problems and fix that service, which was not us, by the way. It's a protocol level thing, but we were concentrating on that, and I knew that we were having missed signatures for the Oracle on Kujira, but I also thought that we could miss something like 270,000 of them. However, it was more like 20,000. So my bad. Now I know. I've fixed my monitoring to calculate the missed percentage. The missed fraction percentage accurately now. So lesson learned. And yeah, it's going to cost me probably $100 to reimburse everybody. So
that was what? That was there you go.
Hey,
that was Oracle signing. Is that what that was?
Yeah, it was to the Oracle. So the way my monitoring works is for Oracles, I poll the / window, and I thought that the / window was like and it makes more sense now that I have been slashed and going back and thinking about it. I didn't realize there was like another parameter of like you have to make a signature every so many blocks. It's 14 for Kujira, or you know, out of that 274 blocks, there are, you know, divide that by 14, 274,000, divide that by 14. That's the amount of blocks signatures there are in that time. So when I was looking at my missed signatures of like, you know, 15,000, I was like, well, I've got a month before I'm actually going to get slashed. But, you know, it was actually 15,000 of like 19,500. So, and then we were working on this other problem for days. And I was missing all my sleep for days. And then, yeah, got slashed. And I was like, had to investigate it further then to figure out why. And that's why. So
there was a bunch. I think I saw there was a bunch of. There's a pretty tight slashing window on that. It seems like for the Pego or whatever that.
No, not injective. Right? So this is Kujira we're talking about.
Oh, okay.
Injective is fucking expensive if you get slashed. Do not get slashed.
Same thing though, right? Like, well, maybe not the same windows, but that's all Oracle slashing, right? That you guys are worried about with Pego or whatever the hell.
So Pego is actually an orchestrator for a bridge. It's not an Oracle.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so Pego is really like finicky. And if you don't have your monitoring dialed, you're fucked. So
is that bridges to like L2s and L1s in other ecosystems that you're somehow
Ethereum, from Ethereum, basically.
Oh, it's all Ethereum. Yeah.
So the daemon though, like the Pego daemon, it just stalls a lot. So if you like restart your node that it's attached to, like sometimes it'll stall, sometimes it won't. If the network has a problem, it'll like stall out after some retries. If there's like any number of things where there's like a disconnection between it and other processes, it'll break. And so then you start missing announce rounds. Like you're missing announce, like what do they call it? Schultz, there's like val set announce and
nonsense.
Yeah. So there's not nonsense that you have to. So there's a network one, and then there's one like your own validator one. If you're not caught up, if there's a lag between them, like you're marching towards a slashing. So the way we don't, all those announces and stuff, like for the val set and that, we don't monitor. We only monitor our announce and the network announce. And if they have a lag more than 5, we get a very very persistent alert.
You get shit.
Well, it's on a different so our Pego alert is actually on a different channel in PagerDuty than everything else, and it is persistent. It'll send you the message in the app, and then it'll text, it'll call.
Somebody comes to your house and shit. So he's knocking at the front door.
Because I mean that is our highest risk element of our entire operation at the moment, is a slashing from injective.
It's amazing that that's tied to a service that is unstable but not of your doing.
Oh yeah, we have it on consistent restarts just so that if it does stop, then it'll just kick itself back on at some point.
Right. Rather just restart it every hour than fuck with it.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Like why fuck with it, right? Just restart it every hour. Who gives a shit? Like you'd rather do more poorly on those types of things than deal with a possible slash.
Literally exactly it.
Yes.
I mean, that
makes sense, right?
That kind of doesn't fix all of the problems though. Like if there's an actual problem with the RPC that it's attached to or something, then it's not going to fix that. But
sure. Yeah. But
it does fix the stalling problem.
It doesn't replace monitoring, but
we have monitoring as well. But if you restart your node, then you also have to restart Pego with it, right? And if you don't, then Pego starts missing. So if the node happens to restart for whatever reason, like Cosmobite, like an upgrade, if there's an upgrade that happens, then Pego doesn't have to restart. You have to do that manually, right? And so if you just have a looping restart, then you just don't have to think about Pego anymore, so long as you have that node still operating.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
The games we play, baby.
So
That's
do you
right.
have that
Yeah.
then on? Do you use a system D timer for that, or you just got the old cron tab?
I don't remember. It's one of the two. Yeah, probably cron if I had to guess.
Cron,
That's pretty funny.
cron, baby. I try not to use cron now. I try to use like system D timers and dirty scripts.
I'm
use
probably about
containers.
50-50. James just corrected me. We are using System D for that.
Runtime max. Oh yeah, runtime max is a good example. Yeah, so runs 2 hours and it automatically kicks it off or whatever. Yeah, that's a good
Oh,
idea.
so it's not a timer. It's just runtime max in your system D.
Yeah,
same
system
difference.
management. Yeah.
No, I can't keep up. He's like or cron job.
Same
Now I'm
Okay, now I'm
confused.
gonna go look.
Yeah, it was interesting. I don't want to keep banging on about DYDX, but just some other interesting and funny observations in DYDX and other networks as well. This is not just DYDX. Well, this particular observation, people who put little messages next to their validator name, right? So I saw one in here. I don't think they're in the active set, but I saw one in here that has their validator name, and then they've got 100% slashing refund when there's no slashing, and then they've got auto compound when there's no auth Z. So that's
You're forgetting one of them. You're forgetting the 0% commission guy. Even though
the
minimum
5%.
5%.
the 0% commission with a minimum 5% commission.
It's a fucking sewer. Like that shit. Like that is shit that the team should fucking stand up on. Like,
yeah, but I mean, how? What are you gonna do?
Delegations, like there's those should be like those delegations should come out that anyway. There's lots of ways to be able to do that, right? Like there's even reaching out. There's personal communication related to that. Like it's dishonest. So either you're gonna support, like this is a small validator set. There's only 60 individuals. So either you're going to protect your delegates or you're going to sit in your hands and say this is permissionless. Yeah, it's permissionless, but you have fucking power to like fix this problem. And that is being like you have 60 names in that set. It's being deceivious. If you're going to sit on your hands and do nothing, then like what the hell is that? You're not even protecting you're not protecting people who hold the token. And I think that's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? Like I know that's permissionless, but like there's clearly powers that they have to be able to do something with that.
Really, what you're saying is we need Stride to come in and save us. Is what you're saying.
Yeah. What we need is a third-party policing to reduce this 60 down to maybe what do we say? 32 validators sound good to you guys?
That sounds like a lot to me.
Maybe 16 validators.
Yeah.
Let's get down to 16 validators, and let's make sure that the same 8 are in there at least.
Well, the top 8 across the whole ecosystem.
Hey,
another thing that was surprising to me is Stake Cedo is not in the active set.
they were right. I thought they were pretty high up there.
He just was.
No, he's like, what?
He was. I
Does
thought
he
he was
have
like
two
pretty high
validators?
actually.
Oh, maybe he's got 2. Does he have 2?
I would hope not. Oh, you're just looking at who got kicked out. Are you looking at the boot list?
I was just looking at the inactive list. Yeah, he's not in the active list.
That's weird. That's weird, right? I thought they were. Did they get jailed or something?
No, they didn't get jailed.
Oh. Hey, we're down 46. So if you're going to stake DYDX validators, don't use 45. That's Luga nodes, which very low respect for. So try go to one more.
You're right.
Yeah, I thought
one more down the list.
go one more down the list. I swear. Oh, A41's in this list now too. They're going to move up fast.
Yeah.
Schultz
There
back
are-
in, that's
or-
good.
Look at 55. 55 also needs a little bit of help. We could use a little bit of love and attention.
Oh, you guys are side by side, 55, 56?
No, we're 46.
Yeah.
Oh, 56.
We're
Yeah,
46.
give Schultz the delegate first. He needs
Just
to move
keep it
up
away
that
from-
list a little bit.
Yeah, so let's see. Oh, we have Nakamoto of 2 and 4 validators own the governance structure and the
Yep.
whole chain.
2 of which are unidentified and 2 of which don't vote. So that's interesting.
That's great.
So,
Very cool. Very cool. It should
Imagine
be
if-
great.
Imagine if they just turned on the
Turn on whatever the fuck they want.
inflation.
Yeah. Where's our Terra.de boys? Where aren't they spamming this shit? They not figure out that DYDX is a Cosmos chain yet.
Who's Terra.de?
The fucking spammers that keep putting up bullshit proposals on every goddamn Cosmos chain. The hardest working team in all the Cosmos.
What's the?
Literally,
Is
those
that,
guys.
I didn't know. Terra.de. I've never.
Whatever
looked
it is,
at
Terra
any of these
V2,
crap
Terra
they do.
this, Terra that. Like it's always Terra something, right?
The airdrop spam props
Yeah.
with the diamond. If I see the diamond, I just no veto it so hard. I don't even look at what's going on. If you have an emoji in your props, I veto
It's a
it.
diamond.
I don't
Do
care
not-
what it is.
Stay away from the diamond, everybody.
I'll tell you why they're not spamming it, because the minimum deposit is 10,000 DYDX.
Oh, is
So
it?
If you want to lose 40 grand real quick,
No shit. Is it 10,000?
yeah, they don't fuck around.
That doesn't seem very
They're like, if you're not rich, you can fuck off.
that doesn't seem very permissionless to me. It's a bit high, isn't it? For a Cosmos.
If you don't have a lazy
proposal?
40 grand usurper, you can't make a good decision. So
Clearly. I love when everybody argues about what, like I think what was it, Stargaze or something that bumped it up, and it went from like $150 to $500. Everybody freaked out. That was totally like it wasn't. Yeah, it was like it was not. It was everybody hates the community and like bad governance and all this kind of shit. 40,000 is pretty up there.
it is. Yeah, it's a long way up there.
And Figment's running at 10%. Flashcat at 6%. Look at this shit. Figment not messing around, man. 10%.
Yeah, I mean, Figment's like.
Fuck yins.
Did you see their save validators? Their commission is 33%,
What?
Amazing.
and they're
When we
ranked
do that?
2 or 3 or something.
That's amazing. They must be investors in these chains, right?
So I asked the team. I said, "What about this 33%?" And I think they are their own tokens. I don't think the team can do fucking anything.
They have 500,000 tokens in their commission pool right now. Wow.
Yeah, they don't pull very often. I saw that too. Are you talking about Say or where? Or
Yeah,
DYDX?
Say.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
number
yeah.
6.
Yeah.
On Say, yeah.
Yeah,
They got 200
they very rarely. I have seen that too, where like they'll have large amounts coming in, and then like they'll sit on it, and not really do anything. So which is always interesting to me.
So I don't think they have like a foundation delegation. I think it's all their own customers
Say?
or whatever. Yeah, but I mean, if it's their own customers, like their own VCs,
Yeah.
big institutionals, they are fleecing the fuck out of them.
I assume that's what this is, right? Like this is like I know they had like large scale investment coming in, so this must be using VC investment, which I don't know why you would have to be a Figment shareholder to be able to do that, because you could just take those and stake them yourself, I guess. But I guess
Well,
maybe
you
they're
need those
directing
extra
that.
fleecing rewards, right? Like you can't just lose 33% to anyone.
That's
You have
right.
to choose who you lose 33% to.
That's right.
That's
That's right.
insane, right?
You can't just pick a 5% validator. You have to purposefully lose 33% and then stake yourself with a 10% validator,
Yeah, exactly.
and then not pull rewards and just let them sit there earning
Just let it
nothing.
go.
Yeah,
Let
just
it-
let
let
them
it
sit
eat.
there. Yeah,
Oh god.
we're in the wrong
Hey, I'm
fucking business.
wondering. I'm wondering if during the daylight savings we should change our show time. We seem to get more, at least 2 or 3 more viewers come in later, like an hour later.
What are you talking about? We're doing pretty well.
10, yeah. It's like that's what I'm saying. We got big numbers now that we're like near
This
the
is-
end.
This is earlier for Schultz and I.
So just want to click through these comments. No, there's nothing worth talking about.
Oh, sorry, commenters. Fucking hammer dropped. Is there anything else in the news you want to talk about before we run out of time?
No, I mean, thank you to those concerned in the comments, Rama. I feel much better this week. I was like, yeah, a bit of a fucking turd last week, but feel great this week.
We should have talked about the Cosmos Hub reducing inflation, because that has been an absolute shitstorm. SG1 has gotten a lot of flack because they voted